There we go. Sorry for being a minute late on the live stream. Just having a little bit of technical issues. Okay, whoops, we gotta put that down. Hang on. Okay, why is that going on? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Hi, and welcome to Deciphering Your Body's Clues So You Can Heal. I'm Tara Meyer-Robson. I will be your host or hostess for the next 30 minutes, where I am very happy to take your live calls to help you to translate any pain or disease that you are dealing with. Now, in saying that, this is going to be my first time doing the live calls, so please bear with me as I'm sort of figuring out some of the technology stuff here clearly, but I am happy to do it. If I miss your call, if I miss a comment, please forgive me. I am going to hopefully get better and better at this as we go forward. So this live stream, this podcast, the reason I decided to create it is because I get so many questions from so many of you about the pain and disease that you are specifically dealing with and what the message is behind it. And that's literally my specialty. I can usually tell you within about a minute of working with me exactly what the message is behind the pain or disease that you are dealing with right now. And then within the next few minutes, I can usually give you a really strong path to being able to realign, to understand that root cause and realign with healing. So I talked about in the last podcast exactly sort of how I do that. What are the steps that I take? And I do teach other people how to do this in my body language course, which you can find on my website at tarameyer-robson.com, and then just click, I think, body language on that, and you can check it out. So if this is something you'd like to go deeper on, you can definitely do that. So in the meantime, for those of you that are interested in asking me a question live, you can do so. There is information underneath the video, underneath the live stream, that tells you exactly how to click and call in. As I said, I will try my best to keep focused on exactly what that is. Hang on one second. I keep getting some sort of thing from my, okay, we're gonna quit that. Okay. So when you live stream, everything pops up at you at once, just FYI for anybody who's going to do this. And it's really hard to try to close all the windows as they're popping up. Okay, so today I am going to start off. If I get live calls and comments, I will definitely, as I said, answer them. You can also put your comments or questions in the chat. You can, if you decide to call in, I have set it so you can call in anonymously. It doesn't really matter to me what your name is. And I know, with health issues, especially some health issues and some of the underlying reasons for them, people can feel a little bit uncomfortable talking about them in a public setting. So please feel free. You can call in anonymously, and I'm more than happy to answer what you have going on right now. So what I'm going to do in the meantime, if somebody calls in or has a question, I will happily answer it. I also get a ton of emails from people looking for help. So also you are welcome to feel free to contact me on my contact page on my website and ask a question that way. And I'm more than happy to try to answer those questions as well on the live stream, the podcast. So for today, I did go ahead and pull a couple of questions that I've gotten via email that I thought we could go ahead and take a look at and figure out how to translate these messages. Now, as I always say, where the pain is in your body, where the ache is in your body, where a rash might show up in the body, that is going to tell you a whole bunch about exactly what's going on. And what I like to always liken this to, in understanding that this is literally the way that your body talks to you, is that you can think about, and as I talked about in the last podcast, it's a lot like learning a foreign language. At first, you have no idea what the heck you're looking at, what you're hearing, what you're reading. Those words make no sense to you. But once you are actually in taught, or you've immersed yourself in that language and you learn that language, and you know that, hello is bonjour, like in French. Now suddenly it makes sense, right? You can listen and you can understand, maybe not everything sometimes, but you can understand. And as you get better and better and you practice more and more, you're able to get this very quickly. And this is the same type of thing. When I worked on figuring out exactly what the language was and seeing if I could somehow be able to not only use it to be able to help other people, but to help other people learn how to do this, one thing that occurred to me is that we as people, while we get these pains and these like, diseases, these rashes, these things that pop up, oftentimes, we don't come into the world understanding that language. We learn the language that we're born into, and then maybe we learn additional languages, but we don't learn the language of the body. And the only way that the body can tell us what's off in our mind and our body and our life is by actually throwing some things at us that are pain, that are diseases, that are specific ways that the body is breaking down, that are movement issues. And in all of those things, if you know how to understand and decipher that clue for yourself, you can really take that message. And it oftentimes is an actual message. Like we can literally create one very clear message from the pain or the disease that's going on. And you can take that message and be able to use it to realign things in your life that are off. A lot of times the message will be really specific. I mean, really specific about a situation or a person in your life that's causing you a great deal of stress or underlying beliefs and issues that are causing you problems. Now, in saying all of this, I always want to say that, the beliefs that are going on that are unconscious are literally unconscious. So it's not your fault if you have a pain or disease. This is just, you're human, right? Pain and disease comes up. That's a human thing. It happens. But on top of that, I just want to emphasize that because I see people in the mind body world and they give people this impression that like, if you're not healing from something that you're dealing with, and you're following their system, that you're doing something wrong. You're not, you're not. This is not your fault. It's not your fault if pain and disease is not healing. It's not your fault if you're having patterns in your life that are problematic and keep showing up again and again. We are literally talking about unconscious beliefs that are coded in. They've been coded in for your whole entire life or much of your life. Some of these issues can come in due to a traumatic event. Something gets coded really quickly, and that's when you start to see some issues that are oftentimes pretty severe that like pop out of nowhere, or they can be coded in from a trigger event where you've had something traumatic or difficult that's happened. And around the anniversary of that each year, you suddenly will get, a certain set of emotions. And all that is that particular date on the calendar is triggering you to feel certain things or it pops back up. And I always like to say, the conscious mind forgets, but the subconscious mind never does. It's sort of like those old, record where, there's grooves that have been, that are in the record and that always plays that certain song. It's a similar thing when you've had sort of a groove in your mind that's been patterned in, such as something around the date of something traumatic, you will end up having that same sort of song or pattern replay for you. And it's really just a trigger. When you catch it, you can actually, as I call it, retune it or shift, radically change that trigger. And you can actually reset it so that now it's no longer a problem. For me, I'll give you an example. A trigger for me, which a couple of years ago, I just didn't even think about it. We had a situation with our 16-year-old adorable little dog who we expected actually to live quite a bit longer. He just all of a sudden developed it was just very fast moving and there was literally nothing we could do about it. And within like a week, we suddenly were in a position of having to make that very difficult decision to let him go. And so that was on June 17th, about 5 years ago. And even this year, on June 17th, all of a sudden I started feeling very emotional, very sad, very off. It was very unlike me. And I was walking around and I'm thinking through everything going on, things that I'm doing, people I'm working with, like what happened? Like what's going on here? And finally it dawned on me, June 17th, right? So consciously, I hadn't even thought about that being the anniversary of the day that we had to let our little guy go. But my subconscious mind remembered that frequency of June 17th and bam, all those feelings started to come back. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. And finally, as we head into this, I just want you to remember, please always get a proper medical diagnosis. I know sometimes it can be very difficult to do that, but if you've got something going on, please do see a medical doctor and talk to the medical doctor as well about treatment. And it's something I'm very, very passionate about. I also have had bad experiences with doctors. Believe me, you guys, I have. And I had a wrong diagnosis many years ago for chronic fatigue. That part was the right diagnosis, but I was told it was incurable, which obviously it was not. And I was able to cure it through my own work. But oftentimes, guys, we do have serious issues, really serious issues. We're talking like stage 4 cancer or really serious mental diseases that we do still need, you can look at it in a holistic way, and you do still need a medical diagnosis and a medical treatment plan, whatever that may be for you. Okay. So as we head into this, let me take a look. Oh, it's 11:11. That's great. Let me take a look. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to translate right here live a couple of issues that I've gotten via email. So here's one. Hi, Tara. I have sort of a minor but seriously annoying thing going on. Every time I walk forward, the outside of my right foot hurts. It's kind of like an ache. And I notice the ache is still there if I stand in one place for a while. It's both outside and kind of under the outside of the foot. So we're apparently kind of doing this around the foot. And if that makes sense, it's always there, except when I'm off my feet and laying down at the end of the day. Any insight what's going on here? Okay, and I'm going to leave her name off it, just again to be anonymous for her with regard to health issues. So so this is, what you might think of as a more minor issue, as you call it, but it is annoying. If every time you're stepping forward, you're having an ache on the bottom of your foot, it can be very annoying. How many times a day do you step? I mean, recommended amount of steps is 10,000 a day. So 10,000, well, half of that, 5,000 painful steps a day. Pretty annoying. It's okay to say that this is annoying and you want to do something about it. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is that she's saying that it's on her right side. Now, for those of you that have followed me for a little while, you'll know that I always talk about when you see something coming up on that right side, you are looking at a male in your life, or you're looking at the more male energy of like action, moving forward, taking action, that kind of thing. Like that shoving forward kind of thing. So that tends to be more the like masculine energy. We all have male and female energy in us, some of us more and less, and however we present ourselves. But so that's going to be on the right hand side. So right off the bat, I'm thinking to myself, this has got to be something going on with male in her life. And she's saying it's an ache. So whenever I hear an ache, for me, it's heartbreak, right? When we think about aching, we even, it's interesting to me how often we actually use the words in our day-to-day life that really are the translation that our body is trying to give us. So oftentimes we will say something like we're aching for something, or my heart aches, right? And that's really heartbreak. And so her body is literally saying, hey, you're heartbroken over something with a male in your life. And so it's interesting to me now, she says that it's on the outside of her foot. So whenever I'm looking at the outside of the foot, I'm looking, or outside in general. So when we're looking at the body, if something's on the outside, like the outside of the arm rather than the inside, or the outside of the legs or feet rather than the inside of the legs or feet, the outside for me means this is coming from the outside. So sometimes if we have something showing up on the inside of the body, oftentimes I will be looking at that this is actually something internal, that is something negative internally that she's maybe turning upon herself, or self-criticism, lack of self-love, messaging that she's telling herself, that kind of thing would be in the inside. So if we're looking at inside pain, that's usually what we're looking at. Outside pain is something negative coming in from the outside, or difficult coming in from the outside. So I feel pretty good that I would right off the bat say that she's got a male in her life that she's heartbroken about, and there's something very negative coming from him to her. Now, she's also saying that it's not only on the outside of her foot, it's under her foot. So whenever I look at something that's at the bottom of our feet, I'm looking at something really foundational. It's something I call a station 1 issue. And for me, station 1, for those of you that are familiar with chakras, that's a root chakra issue. Station 1 for me is all about foundation, about family, about feeling like you do have roots, that you're stable, that you are, that you just have a really good, solid foundation under you. Okay. But again, because I'm looking at this being underneath the foot, then that's telling me that there's something going on that's making her feel like she is not supported. She is not stable. She is not on stable ground with this guy, whatever this situation is. And again, she's heartbroken about it. So she said it's always there, except when I'm off my feet and laying down at the end of the day. Okay, so it's a constant. So for me, if this is something that's constant, this is your body literally nagging you. So I think of like the image I get as I'm talking about this with her is like my sweet little girl. I have a 5-year-old and she is completely adorable. But when she wants my attention, it's mama. Hey, mama. hey, mama, hey, mama. Hey, mama. And so that's what I get, right? Over and over and over again. If you're a parent, you probably know that little like, poke, 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 like that kind of a thing. Really making sure that we're very, very aware that they want something and they're not going away until we pay attention. And so because this is constant throughout the day for her, this is a hey mama situation. I think that her body, it's something that her body is like, this is not going to go away until you deal with it. You have to turn your eyes to it and pay attention. And I will say, especially with aches, I'll see that aches oftentimes will absolutely dissipate. Not that there's not more healing work to be done, because there's still healing work. There's still shifting all that stuff inside, but the pain itself will go away once we translate it and we acknowledge it. So it's like the body is like raising its hand, poke, 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 poke. And then when you finally translate it and pay attention, the body goes, oh, it's kind of like giving your child something after they've said, hey, mama, for the 20th time, and you've paid attention to them. And then suddenly they happily go off somewhere. It's a similar thing with pain in our body. We're going to keep getting poked, especially with this one being constant. This is poking her, poking her, poking her. And hopefully when she gets this translation and she watches this and hears this, she will hopefully have that pain pull back because it's being acknowledged. So she's saying, except when she's off her feet, laying down at the end of the day. So for me, that's something I would guess that she's feeling a lot of pressure. So if you think about when you're standing during the day, there's like a lot of pressure, obviously, on your feet all the time. And so, for me, I would say that she's feeling a lot of pressure about whatever this issue is. Also, it may also be that whatever the situation is with this guy, I don't know if she works with this guy. I would guess it's probably more of like a family member just because of it being at the root. But it also can be somebody she feels of like family. So it could be a business partner. It could be, again, a spouse. It could be somebody like that would be at like that family level. So it may be somebody she's dealing with all day long or having to deal with all day long. And then finally, at the end of the day, she's able to obviously kick back and be off that. Okay, and she also says that, what's she say about the movement? It's both outside, she's, every time I walk forward. Okay, so it's every time she walks forward. So this is what I talk about a lot, about it being we have to analyze what's the motion that's making it either worse, or what is the motion being restricted in some way. That's like that oftentimes the most literal translation of all literal translations that you can get on the body is when something, emotion in your body, how something's supposed to work is breaking down. If you look at how it's breaking down or the motion that is causing problems, it will tell you oftentimes exactly what's going on. So in this case, it's when she's moving forward. So for me, immediately I'm thinking, okay, I have a feeling that this is something about that she needs to move forward, or she's trying to move forward, perhaps from this man, from this situation, from something like that, and that she's heartbroken about it, but she really does need to move forward, and it'll actually help her to be able to cause this pain to sort of, go away. So for me, I think if we look at it as a whole, I would say the message is she is heartbroken over a male in her life who's causing negativity to come at her. She wants to move forward, and there's something about moving forward that is causing her also a lot of pain around this man. And that her body is saying, though, that this is something she can't keep putting to the side. She's got to look at, this is going to nag her all day until that happens. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to give you an update on that translation next week and give you an update. Hopefully this is spot on. I love finding out from people if this is working, if this is the right thing working for them. Okay, so we're going to move forward and take a look at this next one. I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee. Okay. Dear Tara, I've been diagnosed with sort of either or both chronic fatigue syndrome and or fibromyalgia. Okay, that's really normal. That oftentimes goes hand in hand. It's exhausting and painful, and I want to be rid of it. I have a lot of symptoms, as you can imagine. Okay. One of the most debilitating is that I can't seem to do much of anything for too long without getting completely exhausted. However, I'm also feeling a lot of muscle tension and aches. Okay. Particularly in my arms, and I've been getting a ton of pain in my neck and the back of my head. Okay. Interesting. Which seems to be contributing to getting a lot of migraines. Sure. I've never had migraines quite like these. I get blinding pain, literally. It's hard for me to see when I have them. And I'm also getting really dizzy. Okay, there's a lot of information there that we can translate, which thank you for sending it so detailed. So if you do send in something via email, do send me some, as many details as you can think of. What does it feel like? What's going on? Where's it hitting? Where is it in the body, etc. What's this all saying? I'm sorry to hit you with so much. And I can see some things that you talk about in the course that make sense. Oh, this was somebody that is in my body language course that sent me this. I'm sure I'm seriously overwhelmed. I have a demanding job and a very demanding family, but I just can't put the whole picture together. What do I do? Thank you so much for helping with this. Okay, great. So, okay, so let's just take this apart again. So just like when you're sitting down to translate a sentence in a foreign language, that's all we're doing here. We're literally just translating each piece and taking each piece. And when we're able to translate each piece and put it together, we've got the message, right? So it says she's been diagnosed with sort of either both chronic fatigue syndrome and or fibromyalgia. Now, just seeing that right off the bat, I'm going to be like 98% sure that this person is an empath. She's a person who's very, very open and is pulling in other people's emotions all the time and isn't protected at all, or doesn't have the tools to be able to protect herself. And I can say this with assurance because I work with all empaths, and honestly, every person who's come to me with I don't work with most empaths, and every person who has come to me with chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia is an empath, and they're just soaking in too much. So right off the bat, I'm going to say she's soaking in all this emotional energy. I like to describe it when you're an empath, like you're standing in a room and there's like 5,000 speakers pointing at you, and each speaker is playing a different channel: talk radio, rock, rap, hip hop, jazz, Disney Channel, whatever. And if you can imagine how overwhelming that would be really quickly, if all that was coming at you and you were just standing there and you couldn't protect your ears, you couldn't do anything about it, you couldn't protect yourself from the vibration. That's usually what's going on with an empath who's unaware that they're an empath, and they're just walking around in life with all these speakers like hitting them with anxiety, happiness, anger, sadness, whatever else like people are freaking out about, or the bad things happening in the world, or they read a horrible news story, or whatever it is. It's the same thing. You're soaking in so much stuff, and eventually your circuits will blow. And that's what happened to me. That's how I got chronic fatigue. And so I can say to this woman that, yes, I'm guessing her circuits are blowing. She's an empath and she's just walking around completely unprotected. So we'll talk about how to protect herself here in just a second. And if you're an empath and watching this or listening to this, hopefully that'll help you too. Okay, so it's exhausting and painful. Yes, it is. And I want to be rid of it. Okay, she says she can't seem to do much of anything for too long without getting completely exhausted. So what's going on with that is exactly what I just said. When you're an empath and you're just picking up all these different stations of emotion all the time, and you have no way of protecting yourself, and you haven't protected yourself, I mean, it's just going to be exhausting, right? Literally, your circuits are going to blow, and that's what's happened here. But she's also feeling a lot of muscle tension and aches, particularly in my arms. Okay, so the arms for me are always an extension of our emotional center. So if we think about what we can do with our arms, right? We can hug, we can punch, we can slam, we can do an elbow thing, we can do an elbow, hey, how you doing? Elbow, which has been very popular with the pandemic, like an elbow pump or whatever one calls bump. So there's a lot of things, right? All of those are emotions. It's, hi, I'm angry with you, I love you, right? All that is emotional. It's your arms are an extension of your emotions. So it makes a lot of sense if you're an empath and you're taking all this stuff in all the time. And I'm going to guess right off the bat that if she's feeling a lot of muscle aching in her arms, again, ache is heartbreak. And I would be willing to bet, she didn't say this, but everything in my body is telling me that she's feeling pulled apart. Like the aches are probably coming from her feeling like she's being pulled in 20 different directions. Now, again, for a person who's an unaware empath, you're picking up all this need in the world all the time. And also she says later that she has a difficult job and a difficult family. So my guess is it doesn't have any healthy boundaries, and she's being pulled constantly, like literally pulled, come this way, do this for me, don't do that for me, I need this, I need that. And she's just she has no way of protecting herself. So I think that's probably where the muscle aches are coming from, and that she's heartbroken about it, which is understandable. Okay, this one's interesting. She has a ton of pain in her neck and the back of her head, which is causing her to get migraines. And the migraines are blinding pain. When she gets them, it's hard for her to see, and she's getting dizzy. Okay, so let's just take that apart. Let's just take a look at it. So the neck and the back of the head. Okay, so then the neck is our vocal center of being able to feel like we're speaking our truth, or we can stand up for ourselves from this place in our body. And so it's also obviously where our head rests. So it's, it allows us to be able to turn this way and that. And as I'm doing that, I have a feeling, I think that what's going on here is she's getting a lot of that neck pain because she's having to like hold herself up, and maybe with all this, like these things going on where she's being pulled all these different ways and feeling all the emotional stuff all the time. I think that's probably where the neck pain's coming from. The fact that she's getting a lot of pain at the back of the head is telling me, so the image I get on that is that she is like being almost smacked in the back of the head. I think, okay, it's going to be interesting hopefully I can get an update on this one, but I think what's going on is she's almost getting a smack in the back of the head with almost her intuition trying to tell her, you need boundaries, or this is how you solve this, or put these things down. The reason you're getting sick is this. And the fact that I think it's like almost, the image I'm getting is almost like something coming up and like smacking her in the back of the head kind of feeling. It doesn't feel to me like it's like, I think it's her intuition more than anything, like trying to tell her, hey, like my mom would smack me right here on the back of the head when I, sometimes, and actually a nun in my Catholic high school would often smack people on the back of the head. And it was that like, hey, wake up, pay attention kind of thing. Or you're being, whatever, just that smack. So I think that's what's going on the back of the head. And then when I think about the migraines, I think the migraine is, I get people with migraines a ton that are actually really intuitive people, but they don't want to pay attention to that intuition, or they feel like the intuition is difficult. So what they end up doing is the intuition is kind of trying to come in from the back of the head and then come out the front, or coming in from the sides. Like basically this is our whole intuitive center. And again, intuition is not anything other than it's just your body's way of attempting to give you some signals so that you can live your best life based on the beliefs that you have at that moment in time. That's really all intuition is. It's just, people act like it's very woo-woo. Yes, some people have stronger intuition than others. And they come in with stronger intuition than others, but we all have it coded in us. It's, at some level, it's quite biological. So it's like a survival thing. So for her though, I have a feeling if she's an empath, she's probably picking up a lot of stuff and probably is very intuitive. And she's probably pushing back against it. Also, I sense that the pressure, she says she has a difficult family and difficult something work, I think she said. So there's a lot of pressure as well of like that, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? That kind of a thing. She says the migraines are blinding. So when you think about something like, and I'm just going to throw it out to you guys, when you think about something being blinding, or you want to like close your eyes, you don't want to see it, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to see any of this anymore. So I feel like the situations in her life are stressful enough, and maybe all the stuff she's picking up because she's an empath is stressful enough that she's literally almost wanting to be blinded from it. It's so much pressure that it's like, I can't see it anymore. I'm done with this, right? And I think that's why it's so blinding. The fact that they're also making her dizzy though tells me that she's not feeling like this is literally all this energy swirling around her is like, ooh, this, like, I feel like she's being pulled in about 60 zillion different directions and, yanked here, yanked there, yanked here, yanked there. And this is literally causing her to feel like she's not on any kind of stable ground and she's very, very dizzy. So I think that's the message from this particular thing. She has a demanding job and a very demanding family. Okay. So, and she says she just can't put the whole picture together. So the whole picture definitely is, I think the demanding job and the demanding family are pulling her in way too many different directions. She doesn't have healthy boundaries. She's an empath and doesn't know how to shut that down. And she's picking up probably all the stuff. As I said, there's 5,000 different stations, walking around just completely open all day long, feeling pulled apart in the seams. So that's the aching pain, and she's heartbroken maybe over the things that she can't fix. I know as an empath that can really affect me when I can't do something to fix something. And inherently in this world, there are things we cannot fix. So that can be very heavy and very exhausting. The pressure, I think she's just done. She gets so much pressure and it's so many different things, and she's just wanting to shut it down. So it's like blinding pain she just can't see during that migraine. So my recommendation for her is, first off, to start protecting yourself as an empath. I'm big on shielding yourself every single morning as an empath. The way that I teach shielding is to teach it coming from the core of your body and then going outward and creating this sort of customized shield for you every day. All that does, it doesn't mean you're not going to pick up things from other people. I have a lot of people that are like, well, I don't want to turn it all off. And I'm like, no, you're not turning it all off. You're going to pick stuff up. It's just simply setting your own energetic boundary of like, this is as far, this is as much as I'm going to take on today. And I'm not taking on a whole bunch of negativity because I can't handle it. It's just establishing with yourself that you have healthy boundaries. You're allowed to have healthy boundaries. So the first thing I would recommend for her is setting up that shield. For those of you that are interested and you want to go deeper on this, you can jump into my body language course. In there, I have a ton of meditations, including several shielding meditations and something I teach called the shield and micro shield, which helps when you're having, when you're an empathic person or intuitive person and you're picking up things in certain areas of your body. This will help, like, kind of as it's healing, just give it a little bit of extra protection. So all of those things are in my body language course, which is at tarameyer-robson.com/body-language. You can check that out. You can grab that if you'd be interested. Otherwise, I do have some shield meditations on my YouTube channel. So you're welcome to take a look and grab one of those shielding meditations and practices. And it is a practice. I do recommend for anybody who's an empath, shielding every day is really just not optional. It should be like brush your teeth, you take a shower, brush your teeth, do your hair, whatever, and shield. It's like that kind of a thing that you're doing on a daily basis in the morning. It takes almost no time at all, but the difference is massive. So the other thing that I would want to recommend for this particular woman is also to really start acknowledging and paying attention to her intuition about what it's trying to tell her that she needs to do in the situation with this demanding family and this demanding job. So one thing I would recommend, and if you happen to be dealing with stuff like this or migraines, certainly, is to grab a little journal, or certainly, you can always do voice notes or put it on the notes on your phone or your computer. Doesn't really matter to me, but start paying attention during the day to when you're getting sort of flashes of intuition, when you feel like you have something that's trying to come through, or a solution, or when you're having a repetitive thought. Put those things down, pay attention to them, and then take a look at that at the end of the day and see, just start asking your intuition, okay, what solution do I need for this particular problem that's in front of me, that I'm wanting to be blinded from? What's going on there? Or if you have a migraine, okay, I'm going to listen. Just say to yourself, all right, I'm listening to my intuition, and let your mind just kind of go, and then write down whatever solutions come to you. Now, you may not always want to take those solutions. Some of them are really hard. Some of them are things like you got to end a relationship or leave a job. Okay, so those are big things and they're hard, and I get it. But just simply being willing and open to acknowledge that intuitive stuff and to acknowledge that you might be able to have a solution presented to you can really be super helpful in reducing the number of migraines that you're getting. And finally, as always, I'm going to recommend to this woman as well to make sure that there is, it sounds like she's already going to the doctor because she's got a diagnosis of fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, but just always double check, make sure everything from a physical standpoint is okay, and there's nothing else that needs to be taken a look at. So I want to thank you guys for being here today. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel. You can go over and you can jump on my email list so that you never miss a live stream, and that you can call in and ask me questions as well. You can do that at tarameyer-robson.com. And if you do that, you can actually also get a free 7-day Radical Love self-help challenge or radical self-love challenge that will help you to start your healing process through radical self-love. And I had to take myself through that process myself. And that's why I decided to go ahead and give it to you as well for free. So please check that out. If you have any other questions, certainly feel free to contact me on my contact form on my website. And until next time, next Thursday at 11 a.m. MST, please be in good health. Please take care of yourself, take care of others, and offer yourself and others love. See you next time.